Alright, in this video we're going to be writing a comparable class. Our class is going to be defined as TimeSpan, which will basically keep track of the amount of time that is passed in. A TimeSpan can be thought of in two ways. You can think of it as a certain number of hours, minutes, seconds, where each hour is composed of 60 minutes, and then each minute is of 60 seconds. I mean, that's basic. Or you can think of it as the total number of seconds. We're going to go with the later choice because I like dealing with one variable for the most part. So our class is going to have the following methods here. We're going to first construct the time span itself, which is going to take in parameters of hours, minutes, and seconds. Then we're going to construct a public hour method, then a minute method, a seconds method, a total seconds method, an add method, and then a toString method. Now, it's mentioned that our class should implement a comparable interface, and because of that, I'm going to add an additional method to this assignment here, and it's going to be our compare_to method, which will compare two different time span objects. So let's get started here. So our class is going to be considered time span, and we know that we want it to implement a comparable interface, and we're going to compare it with another object called timespan that we're going to create here. So we're going to start out with a private field here, and because I wanted to deal with the later case where I just deal with the total number of seconds here, we're gonna take the shortcut and say private int total seconds, just so that we don't have to deal with any of the private int hours, private int seconds, private int minutes on top of the private int total seconds. So the first thing we need to do is we need to actually create our constructor. So the way we're going to do that is we're going to say public timespan. It takes in hours, minutes, and seconds. So what kind of case we want to consider here? Well, what happens if we're passed in negative values? And at that point, we want to throw an exception, say that you can't do that. You can't have negative hours or negative seconds because we don't want to deal with that stuff. We could deal with it, but we're not going to go back in time and deal with that. So the way we're going to test for that is we're going to see if our hours is less than 0, or if our minutes are less than 0, or if our seconds parameter happens to be less than 0. Then this is where we'll throw our new illegal argument exception. Oops, it's all got to be one word. Just hold on a second, just doing a little bit of spacing. Okay. So we've passed this. We're assuming at this point we didn't catch anything and we want to progress. So what do we want to actually do at this point? Well, we want to store this time span into our private field total seconds so that we can manipulate it later down the line. So to do that, we're going to say our total seconds is equivalent to seconds plus 60 times, this is the interesting part, our minutes plus 60 times the amount of hours we get. Why do we do that? Because there are 60 seconds in a minute, and then there are 60 minutes in an hour. So that's why we do that little bit of code there. The next thing we need to do is we need to return the number of hours that we get. So how are we going to get that? Well, we're going to say public int hours. We're going to return our total seconds divided by 60 minutes, 60 minutes to the hour times 60 minutes to the second, which then we can just rewrite as 3,600. Okay, so we've got that. Now we want to write the minutes method here. So the way we're going to do that is we're going to return the value of our total seconds, and we want to mod this by 3,600 here. And then at that point we know that we're dealing with our minutes from the hours, and then we want to divide by 60. And then we'll close that off. Dealing with our seconds here, we just want to return the total seconds at this point, modulus 60. So the next thing we need to do is we need to return the total number of seconds. Well, that's actually kind of intuitive. So in total seconds, that's just going to be returning our private field itself. So we're going to return total seconds. Alright, moving along. That's kind of cool. We're going to be adding our time span objects together. So the way we're going to do this is we're basically going to say, okay, let's get started here. Add. It's going to take in the other time span. So what do we want to do? Let's create a new variable, and let's just call it result here, because it's going to be the resultant of our original time span plus the other time span. So before we actually start doing the addition, we need to declare it as a new thing. So the way we're going to do that is we're going to say it's going to be a time span with the parameters 0 hours, 0 minutes, and 0 seconds. And what do we actually want to do with this result? Well, we'll call upon result.totalSeconds is going to be equivalent to our original total seconds plus the others total seconds. And then at this point, because we're returning a cumulative addition here, we're going to just return our new resulting time span. Now we move on to our toString method, which will return our string in the form of hour, 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 minute, minute, and second, second. So the way we're going to do that is we're going to go about it in this way. We're going to say our public string, toString, it's going to return basically the hours that we have plus a semicolon or a colon plus our minutes that we get from our method up here. Divide that by 10, and then we'll add the modulus of that with 10. Add a semicolon. Then last but not least, we'll call upon our seconds method, divide that by 10, and then add the modulus there of 10 seconds. Oh, almost ran out of space there. And that'll actually be that for our toString method. So what this will do is this will return our hours with we divide it by 3,600. It should return like a 001 or something along those lines. Then our minutes should return 2 individual values, and then our seconds in that case will also return 2 values, because it'll give you the tens place here, and then it'll give you the ones place, tens place, ones place, so forth. Now I did mention we are going to add a another method here. It was going to be the compare to method, where it's going to compare the total number of seconds of one object to the other. So we know at that point we want it to be of the type integer because we're returning a number, and it's going to be compared to, and it's going to take in another time span. We're going to call it other, like we did above. And the way we're going to return this thing is we're going to say, okay, let's return this dot total seconds, and then we're going to subtract the other dot total seconds. And I just realized I added a t there, and this should do it for our public time span class. See you guys in the next video.